The 88th Texas legislature is moving full steam ahead. In fact, it's not even March yet, and state lawmakers have already filed about 4,000 pieces of legislation, and there's still plenty more expected. With so many bills moving through the process, it can be hard for the average person to keep up. But don't worry, TPPF is here to help you stay informed about the people and ideas working to advance the cause of liberty. This is The Layout. I'm James Quintero, Policy Director here at the Foundation, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Chairman Briscoe Cain. Briscoe, welcome to the show.
Howdy, James.
Today we're going to be delving into HB 2258, a bill that takes aim at local government overspending. If you would, Briscoe, what was the problem that motivated you to file this bill?
The lack of responsible local budgets. We talk about... Right, we have a lot of conversations about property tax decreases, right? That's kind of hard to do if we don't also reduce spending. In fact, one of the ones that kind of concerns me most, there's a lot of discussions about exemptions. Maybe we can even have a policy discussion of what an exemption does. But if spending remains flat or goes up, if I remove people who are paying into the system, then that necessarily requires the government to pass that burden on to others and thus increase their taxes if they're not reducing their spending. And so I think one of the very necessary things that we should be talking about when we're trying to lower the cost on Texans, on taxpayers, is that we've got to rein in spending. Now, this is something that the legislature has long done to require the state of Texas to do. Mm-hmm. And so far, since I guess the local governments haven't done it themselves, because the organization has actually written articles about calling for local governments to do it themselves, pointing out that their spending is out of control and how it's far beyond population and inflation. And so I think maybe it's time that either the legislature does it, or by doing this bill, it will bring enough attention to the issue that maybe locals will begin demanding that their local governments, their counties and cities, begin to rein in their spending.
I think that's right on target. Can you tell us a little bit about how the bill works?
Yeah, well, the bill would limit local government spending at population inflation growth.
So let's say if this bill were to become law, how do you think the average Texan would benefit?
Yeah, well, look, the law essentially will force local governments to make decisions of what they're going to prioritize on their spending. And right now, we see the exact opposite. We see them spending money on things that have nothing to do with the infrastructure or needs of the community, but maybe the wants of the local bureaucrats. Mm-hmm. And so these bills, by limiting their spending, require them to spend it on the things that matter, right? With roads and infrastructure, police and fire and safety, and it would prevent them from spending money on things like DI and ESG and other liberal policies.
So now some of your larger cities and counties are probably going to raise a little bit of a criticism in that maybe this is an intrusion on local control, or at least their perception of it. How do you intend to respond to that?
A common argument we hear from locals is they say, we are making them do things we don't do ourselves. Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect example of something that the state is doing itself. We have these requirements in our Constitution on the state government for us to do. And so they can't point to that. And what we can show is that the state has a track record of following this rule, and we can show the benefit to the people. Mm-hmm. And so it's undeniable that it benefit their taxpayers. And so I think if the local governments are opposing these things, then they're actually maybe being honest, that they're opposing doing something that would benefit their taxpayers.
Last question. Have you had any feedback from either colleagues or constituents?
Yeah, thankfully, there's been quite a bit of feedback. Of course, the modern style of getting feedback these days is, being tagged on social media by constituents calling for these things. But it has been nice to see that after filing this bill, it's getting attention. My office has been hearing from not just my constituents, but hearing from other constituents that are not just concerned about the spending that's going on at the federal level. They're concerned about the local spending. We recognize that Texas's local debt is ranked highest per capita, or second highest per capita in the nation. And I think Texans are uniquely aware of that. and they realize that we've got to do something. And I think they see this bill as one of those solutions.
I think that's well said, Briscoe. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you all next time.
There you go.